Welcome to The World is Your Bowl of Noodles, Slurp Noodles and Chat series. And today your host is Jordan Ibakwe, and my guest is Tamara.
To sell out this aspect of carbon credits, like they're buying land in another country and it's going to do its magic.
It just makes me comfortable that there's someone out there who has the same story and who has dealt with the same thing that I've dealt with. Hi guys, welcome to The World is Your Bowl of Noodles, Slurp Noodles and Chat series. And today your host is Jordan Ibakwe, and my guest is Tamara, who is a mental health activist and a climate change activist as well. Before we get into it, Tamara, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, and so on?
My name is Tamara Kahuthia. I'm based in Nairobi, in Kenya, and I'm a youth climate change and mental health activist. And I've been very inspired by the effort that young people are making to make a change in our society at large. And as a mental health survivor, I like to advocate more about mental health issues and as well the linkage it has with climate change and focusing on vulnerable communities, young people as well, and having the topic to be spoken more. Reason being is 5 years ago, as I faced my worst, mental health issues and everything, um, I was really in a low point, but as well, I really got motivated by the people around me, especially my mother, because mental health issues is really such a stigma and a taboo, and I've been really trying to advocate more about mental health issues, and I plan for more in 2025 and for the many years to come. And as well, I'm a psychology student in the university.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. You said
Yes.
that mental health is a taboo. Is that in your country specifically?
Yes, in Kenya, mental health is really okay, maybe 5 years ago and 5 years now is different because we're having these mental health discussions. But when I was facing mental health issues, I remember I used to get bullied because of it. Or my classmates, some of my classmates used to get bullied because they were experiencing mental health issues, or they used to like phrase it as they're all pretending to have difficulties. But as I've gotten the opportunity to learn more in psychology, I got to understand no one is pretending to be not well. It's people are going the difficult times in different manners as well. And especially I feel in Africa, there's still that huge stigma still, but so many young people are trying to push the agenda and having communities talk about it, having the older generation to accept mental health issues as well, because we find there's so many people who commit suicide in Africa or in my country, but they tended to keep it in a low point, where we're finding the most suicidal cases in men as well. And that's now why I'm trying to emphasize in the coming years when I'm getting this knowledge of psychology to be able to support the country I'm in and as well advocate it worldwide about the issue and as well ensure that we have like a mental health and you're focusing on our well-being with no any stigma in it.
That's absolutely amazing. Like all the plans that you just listed out are just, they will bring a lot of people to be aware of mental health in Africa because I was born in Nigeria. My parents are from Nigeria. And even that, so mental health wasn't a big topic in our house. And yet we all deal with a little bit of trauma and that needs to be released. Because in my last
Yes.
interview with Lauren Clements, we went really deep in the issues of mental health and why it's not addressed enough in schools as well in the United States because it needs to be taken very seriously when it comes to children because we as people have issues that need to be resolved and if we do not let that go then that can lead into further issues in the future in our minds as well. And
Yeah.
I wanted to touch onto your climate activism. What initially sparked that interest in you to fight for the climate?
What initially sparked my interest comes from my grandmother. So my grandmother is my everything, my mentor. She's educated me in so many things. And my grandma is such a farmer girl, and she really loves farming. And we had this like a large farming area where we used to like plant our own crops, because my grandma always believed in, you need to know what you're eating, you need to know what you're consuming,
Right.
you need to know everything about that. And that's what was a relationship with me and my grandma. It was it felt like a connection, a culture, a heritage connection. And now what really maybe took the left turn is now due to climate crisis, because the weather patterns were never the one we used to know, because there was this traditional mythic knowledge that was known from farmers, where the dates of the rainy seasons, the months of harvesting, and all that knowledge they used to know. But now what happened? It got worse, and maybe it was the rainy seasons that they used to know. The rainy seasons was causing so much flooding, or the weather patterns changed and now became like a guesswork and everything. And with that, learning from my grandma how it really affected her, because it led us to move from the large farming scale that we had now to go to a small scale farming and just focusing on our own food, and we stopped like distributing our food or anything like that. As well as my mom is my biggest inspiration. She's a climate change advocate as well, and she advocates for climate change and the inclusion of women as well. And she really inspired me in just taking a step, and as a young girl, what I want in the future that we live in. And she really inspired me and made me acknowledge what we women and young women are very capable of. And she always told me, like, no matter your background, no matter your race, no matter wherever you are, you can make a change. And change we've seen with so many young people over the world, with their different backgrounds, their races, and everything. They have made an impact in the world that we live in. And she always encouraged me like that. And I also learned a lot from her, because she used to organize these initiatives where she started an initiative called Adopt a Tree Initiative. And this is educating young people about the simplification of climate change, as well as planting of trees. And our aim is not like planting trees. Our aim is to ensure that there's the growth of the tree that we are planting and the kitchen garden that we're establishing in schools. And with that, when I was seeing her doing that, it really got me motivated to join the movement with her. And that's how my journey and my love started. Yes.
I I always tell like it's always our parents who are really the big innovators, as well as like our family as well. Family really drives that motivation, and I love the fact that your grandmother, your mother were all just really big inspirations in your life to help want you to build your climate activism and just become more passionate about the climate because it's very important. I read a study that there's doing something in Africa where they're destroying the climate, like literally there is more desertification in Sahara Desert than ever, and places are dying due to that, and a lot of issues around the world with climate change. And I wanted to
Yes.
know what specific actions are you currently taking to address climate change in your area, in your country, or all over the world?
So the initiatives I'm taking to, mitigate the climate is, with the initiative Adopt a Tree, I became the brand ambassador, and I advocated strongly about, educating young people about the simplification of climate change, and just young people to be able to understand what climate change is and what simplified way they can do to combat the crisis. Because I believe in each age that we are in, there are different levels that we can do to combat the crisis. And maybe a young kid and myself have different ways to do that. And that's why, for the young children, as well, you need to be careful on what we are feeding young kids as well, and also just ensuring what we are feeding them is good for them, it's good for their growth and health and everything like that. And as well, advocate strongly for climate and mental health and the two intersection. And I'm doing researches and everything with my friends and everything. And 2025 we are expecting to launch something very soon, and I'm so excited about it. And we are just launching about just this linkage of climate and mental health, the researches that we have done about this intersection. And we have gotten to notice that, mental health is with climate change is bigger than we know, because when you look at vulnerable communities are being affected, they're being really really affected by climate crisis, the extreme weather conditions that we are known, like heavy rainfalls, the droughts, and everything, and even displacement of communities as well, because maybe of fossil fuels, or maybe because just the flooding crisis in general. And we saw, like, because of experiencing loss of homes, loss of lives and livelihood, people are tending to experience mental health issues, such as anxiety, such as stress, such as post-traumatic stress disorder, because you're noticing what is happening around you, and there's the traumatic experience with it, and just the agony of what happens next. Everything around me is gone. What happens? Because there's a time in Kenya where we had a very bad drought season, and where there's a part region in Kenya where they really rely on livestock keeping, and you find their livestock are dying. This is the livelihood of this family. This is what is feeding the kids. This is what's taking the kids to school. This is just the general thing for the family, and you find that is gone. The parents are stressed because they need to make sure the child is going to school. They need, they have to make sure the child is building their future, and they tend to have a traumatic experience as well. But now I feel like the mental perspective of there are different meaning of mental health in different regions, because what is maybe happening in well developed countries in terms of mental health is not happening in maybe in Kenya as well. Because when we think about mental health issues, it's just the stress. You need to feed your family, you need to do this and this and this. And that's what some things I'm trying to bring into light, the intersection of climate change and mental health, as well, empowering young women and men and involving them in the conversation of gender based violence as well, and also in the linkage of climate change as well, and which is really important to have those in discussion. And with my mom, who really helps me to get to understand about this linkage, and also learning a lot about the two linkage as well. And that's why maybe I sometimes organize online meetings, workshops as well, and just to explore more and more and more, and just hoping, as I move, each I believe each year I move, these new steps and new ideas I continue to add as well.
I love how you include the youth in all your projects because it's very important that we address these certain topics to our generation and the people who are upcoming. Because really, if we do not make it aware to them, they would not know the consequences of what could happen if it's not taken seriously. And I want to
Yes.
know, at I saw a post that you were a panelist at the COP28 UAE. If it's is it like COP28 UAE? If
Yeah,
I'm saying
COP28.
it.
Yes.
I want to know, could you explain to us what COP28 UAE conference is and also what this meeting is about? Because many people will not know what this meeting is addressing and the importance of this meeting. Could you please explain to it?
Okay, so when we're talking about COP is the Conference of Parties. This is where they have the discussions about climate change. And in just in more simplified way, COP is just bringing everyone of all different countries together to talk about climate change, how to combat the climate crisis, and how our leaders will help, to help us to know, like, wait, let me wait. So when you're talking about COP is a conference of parties, and COP happens every year. And COP is in the discussion about climate change and what can leaders or policymakers do to ensure that we have reached our climate targets, because we're seeing the climate crisis is really worsening day by day, and it's important that we as nations and everything work together to mitigate the climate crisis. And where in COP there are very various discussions where they're having this where there's discussions of loss and damage, where there's discussions of women in cooperation of climate change as well, where young people as well and are trying to bring the topic of fossil fuel industry, because we are seeing, like, countries like Nigeria, Uganda, mostly, let me talk in Nigeria, they have there's mining of oil in the country, and you find the families there near that area being affected by that. And when we're talking about this is, and also it's in certain places like Congo as well, because there's also mining of very mineral sources and everything. And when we're talking about the fossil fuel industry, we're talking about we need to stop this. We need to as the climate crisis is worsening, we need to find solutions to better the world we live in. And if we want to better the world we live in, we have to mitigate, we have to stop some things. And that's a like topic of fossil fuel industry is something that's being pushed by young people in the conversation. We're having discussions as loss and damage. We're having so many discussions. We have gender, we have youth inclusion and everything else. But now with COP becomes such a very devastating, very emotional exhaustion because COP 28 was my first COP that was happening in Dubai. And let me tell you, it was so exhausting that I came back and I was just, my body was in so much pain and everything. And it was my first COP. And let me tell you, it was very hectic. It was just like all over the place. I was like, what? What is happening? Like, where am I supposed to be? And everything like that. And I think for my first COP as well, I wasn't really prepared of what is happening. I just felt like I've not achieved a lot. I felt like I've not prepared myself and everything else. But during at COP, I had the opportunity, to talk in a side event, to talk about the linkage of, climate change and women inclusion as well, and how, in the perspective, the African perspective as well, and also managing an exhibition booth as well. And through cop in through COP 28 in Dubai, I really got to understand about these conferences and also how to prepare myself. Because COP, I wasn't really prepared for it. I was just like, yes, I felt like when I went, I was exhausted, my legs were hurting. I just had bad burnout as well. But as I've continued to going to these conferences, I've got to understand what I'm focusing on. Like, I'm not focusing on all topics. I'm just have specific topics that I'm focusing on, and I'm getting to understand and following up. And as a mental health activist, have now I have really focused on just the intersection of climate and health, because it's really important to have this discussion as well. And this year's COP 29, there was a little bit of information. They had the inclusion of mental health, and it was such an amazing opportunity that mental health was being in the discussion room. And my also in COP, I had the opportunity, I wasn't there in person, but I had the opportunity to be the organizer of two side events, and that was, climate and health, which was emphasizing on mental health, and as well financing of youth led projects as well, because which is really important as well. Yes.
I I can imagine all the walking you had to do in that day because I saw a video on YouTube and they were just going round, just back and forth, and I was like, oh my gosh,
You
literally
can't even
that is yes, it's just that.
have the worst shoes. It was
Yeah.
like hectic.
Mm. Especially with heels, I can imagine the pain and the sore on like the like back of your feet. It's just oh my gosh. But
Oh,
you touched on industries, and a lot of the things that industries make we consume. But there's also a thing called over consumption when we take a lot of these products and we might not use them and we might waste them. But I wanted to know, how can we balance productivity and the damages being done by the climate? How can industries limit the amount of waste or items that they make, but still give enough for people to have enough?
um, one thing, I was really, when it comes to that topic, I used to support it, but right now with the climate crisis really worsening, I feel like we need to limit such aspects, because let's say maybe plastic pollution, we are really there's so much plastic pollution all over the world, and some of these plastics are just thrown away. Let's say like clothes that well-developed countries think they are giving out to African countries, but when it comes to Africa, it's being sold, and most all of the clothes maybe that come are not, maybe cannot be worn, or just they need to be fixed, and there's so many waste materials from those clothes and everything else. And then we find out like those products are really being dumped in Africa and very much, and you wonder like where will this waste go? And you find them they're clogging the rivers and everything. So I believe like right now, as we are focusing on mitigating climate action, we really, really need to reduce our consumptions. What we were doing, the amount of consumption that maybe an industry was like producing needs to be reduced. Another problem is, I mean, with money, economy, this industry is better a country. So of course there will be no limitation because they will lie to us and tell us, yes, we are limiting, we're doing all our best and everything. Like in topic of fossil fuel, when it comes they try to sell us this aspect of carbon credits, like they're buying land in another country and it's going to do its magic for Africa to limit their way of like it's like okay. I kind of feel like it's like you're buying a country, and that's like how I try to say, because there's no you can be telling me you're buying a piece of land in a country for you to continue to pollute, because that does not make sense. And I feel like we need to reduce all our consumptions if we really want to combat this crisis. The consumption has to go down, and we just need to focus on the human beings that we are and the ones who are going to come in future, because I feel like our leaders are acting as if it's like they want to be the last generation in this planet, and we don't want that. And one thing about, first of all, young people know what they want. And then, leaders, also like even our parents, they really don't know what they want sometimes. And like young people, you find them, they really know what they want. And when we're having discussions on consumptions of how industries are just producing so many things and everything, there needs to be reduction of it. We need to have reductions of these things and everything, because if we continue like this, what will happen next? Like waste production is bad and bad, like countries in Ghana, I was reading some information about it, like right now it's like they also need to buy like water. Like I'm not sure, but they need to buy water because their water is so dirty because of them doing something about minerals and something like that. And I was like, you know what, we are really destroying our planet, and we're just doing too much on our planet, that our planet is fighting back, and we need to understand our planet is fighting back, and we need to cool down our planet and just take care of it. Yes.
No, because on your topic about waste and just like pollution, I saw an Instagram reel on bread in China and how the bread was being like there was piles of bread just all over and just being like thrown into like out in the open in fields. And also I saw um a news on I don't know if how it's called like electric like the waste of phones like phones being like destroyed and thrown out like that is a
Yes.
big issue, and I'm just really concerned because we are damaging also marine life as well, the oceans, the planet's waters, and people drink out of that. You would think in Michigan, Flint, all of those things are due to pollution in rivers and waters and streams, and people that's why people, all my friends, don't even drink tap water because it's so scary to drink tap water. And you can imagine people in Uganda, Ghana, parts of Nigeria, Kenya don't have clean water because it's not accessible to them due to pollution in areas and due to climate. And I just want to know, how do we stay motivated or optimistic despite the challenges we face in climate deniers or just or climate change?
The motivation I believe is I have no say for motivation, but discussing about climate change has really been a motivation for me because it has changed my perspective. And as I motivate other young people to join the movement, is that we are in control of our world, and we are in control of who we are and who we want to be. And we need to change, and we need change things about how we perceive the world, and especially in discussion of climate change, because there's some people will be like, oh, why are you lying some information, so just the climate deniers in general, and it's just to like educate them and get to understand about these terms and what is really happening, because that's why I really believe like we need to educate young people about climate change in a more simplified way, because when you look at the UN processes and everything, my god, sometimes it's hectic to understand all of that. But that's why I believe like sometimes when I read through it, I try to simplify the understanding and everything to get to be able to understand what is happening and everything. But also, I believe agencies have really, we believe these agencies will help us to meet the solutions. But if we want the solutions to happen now, we'll have already made the solutions happen. How many COPs have happened? I mean, like we're going to the 30th COP and we have never made solutions. And it's very hectic, and just a motivation to young people that we are the voices of tomorrow, we are the next generation. We If we want to be in that table, we are going to be in that table, and we are going to make solutions to better our generation, because I believe we are the generation that's going to save the planet, not only the planet in the political perspective, because we're seeing young people are very strong. I just love the Gen Zs. Let me tell you, I don't know what's up with our generation, but we
Mm.
be talking everything. We know what we want. We will know what we know how we want the system to be. Not like the older generation are only focused on money wise and everything. But we can no longer be thinking about money every time. We need to be thinking about human beings. And one thing is just to tell other young people that we need to be human beings. Because sometimes I feel we forget to be human and we need the humanity in ourselves. Yes.
Yes. Climate change, I wouldn't say it's different in every country. There's some similar aspects to it, but in every different countries deal with a different problem of climate change, global warming, pollution, and it's at risk in all levels around the world. And I want to touch on that topic about global warming. How do you feel about that? Have you done research on that topic yet? Do you feel like we can end global warming in our world?
Yes, have done researches on global warming, and yes, I believe we can make an impact. I follow up on it's called the climate clock, which like tells us as young people, scientists that have worked on it, and I think right now it tells us we have 4 years like to combat the climate crisis and everything. But yes, I believe we can make efforts. But the problem is we need to work together to make the efforts, because we cannot do individual work. Because we can say, yes, this organization is doing this, and this, yes. But are we doing like the same solution? Because if we are all doing different aspects, we are not literally saving the planet, we're just making a show of the planet. And when we are working together to combat the global warming, the climate, just everything, when you work together, I believe that everything will be okay. When this is leaders working together, this is UN agencies working together, this is non-profitable organization, this is individuals, this is volunteers, and everyone coming together, we are making these solutions by the policymakers and experts and everything. When we know the policies that we have placed, that we have finalized, because we find some of policies are not being finalized or anything, we know it's going to be finalized later, it's not finalized. Just that we have these policies are being finalized, and then we work on the implementations, because we are really focused on policies that we forget that we need to implement them. And yes, when we implement them, we need all of us to work together, and that's what I believe in.
No, I want to know, how can I, as an individual, or maybe my friends or people around me, start helping create a better, stop, help decrease climate change and make a better world? Because what you're saying are so impactful, are so true. But what are the steps that we as individual people can start implementing or doing in our daily lives to help make it easier to decrease to climate change?
What I believe individually, what we can do is like working on our carbon footprint. So let's say, especially for me, what I do is, let's say when I'm going to school, I'm not going to use, like, I use like an electric boda boda. That's like electric motorcycle. Yes, I use an electric motorcycle when I'm going to school. So I'm watching on my carbon footprint. I'm ensuring that when I'm like eating snacks or anything like that, I ensure that I've disposed my waste as well. And as well telling my friends, because let me tell you, me and my friends cannot throw waste when I'm just next to them. They're like, even like, let's say there's another friend who's just next to us, and like, do not in front of her, because let me tell you, she'll give you eyes. And then I'll just yappering. Like I'll just start talking and be like, so like my friends know that aspect as well. What we can do as individual is look at organizations that are nearby. How can, and just asking and inquiring, how can we just volunteer as possible to make change in in our countries, wherever we are, in the cities or any places like that. So yes, just
No, what you said, like it's the same thing with me. If my friends have food and they're not eating that food, I look at them. So what are you gonna do with the food? You either eat it or you have to do something useful with it, because that's just wasting food. Like imagine the amount of school food that is being wasted in the United States. Because I feel like being here, I've noticed that kids are so kind of ungrateful, because you wonder, you go to school here and you see, oh, they give you free school lunches, the school food is free, we come and go and we eat, but many of the times we waste that food. And you imagine kids in Africa, China, Europe don't have that free food that we have in the United States, and it's being wasted every single day. And I wish people could understand that you can make a difference by actually eating the food, or being grateful that you have that food in front of you compared to other people in the world. And I wanted to touch on leading into mental health. I did a little research on doom scrolling, and how when we doom scroll, we keep scrolling continuously and we see negative news about the climate and about our world ending, wars, and just all this negative news. And I want to know, how does that affect our mental health when we read all these negative? Um, yes, go ahead.
Yes, it really affects our mental health. I've really not done so much research on it, but as well, it's something that I have experienced, because let's say like November, I really took like a long break, and like November and the beginning of December, I took like a long break, because what I was consuming online about seeing, this negativity of how, you're seeing countries are facing worse climate crisis. Like let's say when it's in my country in Kenya, where we're seeing the flooding crisis of, um people have been washed away, like people are still missing and everything. And when you're consuming that, you're more stressed. When you're seeing information like war, especially on topic of war, it's really traumatizing that when you get to, you're scrolling through social media and everything, and you get to see those things, it really it really affects your mental health, because now it's trying to be very stressful. It's becoming very traumatic, and it's becoming something you're also trying to avoid to see as well. Because sometimes I also started like limiting my consumption of internet, because I'm seeing so much bad things happening, and I'm in so much denial as well. I'm in so much pain. You feel like you can go there and tell the world leaders, why can we not stop these wars in these countries? Why are we just silent? You feel like very devastated. You feel like you're in heart with the people who are going this crisis as well. And this consumption is also affecting consumers, people like me, the scrollers. It's affecting our well-being. It's causing stress. It's now causing eco anxiety. Now we're having this anxiety of environmental doom, and now we are seeing what people are showing us online, and you're very stressful. You're like, wow, um what is happening? And even environmental activists, when they see also this, and anyone concerned about environmental climate change, or what is really happening in the world, you're really triggered a lot, because you can see sometimes, even me myself, it's like I limit myself from not commenting, because there's some videos I see, they really trigger me a lot. I can even sleep at night, and I'm even having the worst dreams because of it. And I believe now that's where now And I've been seeing Instagram has been trying to do that to limit like people seeing such stuffs as well. But for me, as I've experienced that, it has really taken a very mental toll on myself because I'm like so frustrated. You're so in anger, you're like, oh my god, I might throw my phone even. But one thing is what like I would try to tell people is let's now start limiting what we consume on social media, or let's limit our hours in social media because most of the time I'm not in social media. I have certain times, or maybe when messages pops ups is the ones that I can respond to. But rather than that, scrolling and everything, I have started limiting, and I'm just trying to like enter new year on how to control my social media intake as well. And that's what other young people, anyone should do. Like you need to control what you're intaking. If you're seeing these things as well, just take a break from social media, just go for a walk, just do something that makes you you and very happy.
No,
Yes.
I always say, go touch grass, go outside, be energized. Like literally, one day I think we didn't have good Wi-Fi. Me and my siblings went outside and played basketball for like 2 hours, and that was the most. It was one of the greatest, maybe one of the best memories ever. And it was just like we can really put the phone down. Like phones do
Yes.
not control us. Social media does not control how many times we have to click on it. And that is so sad, like how many times I click on Instagram constantly every single day to check this, to check that. But really, sometimes you need to limit and have discipline. It's always important to have discipline. Sit down and tell yourself, am I really wasting time, or am I doing something that could be good for my health, for my future, for myself? It's all about like taking care of yourself by taking away the distractions and the negative impacts. And you're currently in school for psychology, knowing that you're interested in mental health. And I want to know what led you to be interested in that study.
So okay. Nowadays I'm more confident because let me tell you, I was never confident talking about mental health or even having discussion about climate change. I was very maybe I wasn't that confident with myself. And 5 years ago, me and now is a very different person. And what got me started is me going through mental health challenges and just getting the help and support from professional help and also support from my mom especially really motivated me in choosing this as my career path because I remember my mom wanted me to do a certain course that I was really not for it, but I last minute I changed it. I told her like, Mom, I really love you a lot, but this is why I want to do psychology. And I was just giving her points and points, Mom. Psychology is something that I really love, and I really want to help other people. And helping other people in a more professional manner, in getting to understand people and how these emotions are coming about, the anxieties, the disorders, and everything. And when she had my explanation and why I love mental health and just advocating for it from my experience, because when I was going through my experience, I remember that mental health was really not a topic because I remember um I don't know if I talk about it, but my friends or my family were really negative about my face in my mental health issues, and which was really not for me. But with that, I got to understand people who I need to keep closer, people who, and the reason why we need to advocate more about mental health, because we have this belief that mental health is like you're totally insane or something like that. And my belief is it's not that. We need to understand what it is. And that really motivated me to have discussions about mental health. And having these discussions has really healed the inner child in me because I'm so happy when I'm having discussions about mental health because it brings a community. We're having this discussion, we are breaking a barrier. I might sit. I always make conversation. I might be in the bus somewhere and I see someone is looking at me, and then I just start a conversation. I'm like, and I just talk about mental health and everything, and that has really motivated me. Every time I'm in class, I'm just there in the front seat or that line or something like that, and I'm just there listening, taking points and everything, and also asking my lecturers questions and everything, and also coming up with researches that have done for climate and mental health, which has really inspired me a lot. So mental health and psychology as my career is the best decision I ever made in my life. So
That
yes.
round of applause. Oh my gosh. Because honestly, mental health is very important. Like you said, in Africa, I am in my family, we don't really talk much about mental health, like at all. And I was watching this TikTok about her this girl with her Nigerian dad, and they were talking about, oh, like, I'm depressed or I'm this and that, and he was like, no, no you're not, no you're this and that. And I it's supposed to be like a little funny skit or whatever, like really it kind of does hit down on like how mental health in African homes and also in Africa is not talked much enough, because we kind of just push it aside, like, oh, she's not, just push it off, like, be tough, like, get through it, you don't have to be depressed or anything like that. Depression is not like that, but it's a real issue that needs to be talked about, because also black people are people, we have feelings, we go through a lot, and it does not mean that we have to be strong all the time. Sometimes we just have to sit down and say, hey, I'm not okay. And that is the best thing that I've ever done, is tell people how I feel. And it's
Yeah.
always good to have someone listen to you and hear you and say, yes, I understand. And sometimes might not even say anything at all, because all we need is just someone who just is there to hear
And
us and emotions, honestly.
yeah.
But I wanted to know, do you have any daily quotes or affirmations that you tell yourself every day to stay confident, to stay motivated, and to just be you?
So okay, nowadays I have, but my confidence have sometimes been very low, but I've been really working on myself, like mentally, spiritually, and also like physically as well. And just what I've been really focusing on is my relationship with God as well, because just having very aspects and everything in my inclusion of myself, because sometimes things aren't easy, because I remember my first my first mental toll, like this year, was me being in New York, and my body was just completely drained and everything else. And let me tell you, after that, I said, my body, my mind, myself come first. And I've been really focusing on, drinking water and everything like that. And my daily affirmation that I tell myself is that I am the queen of my own world, and I need to be confident. And as well, no one is going to make me feel less of myself, because some people will come on your comments or in your DMs, because I've gotten some DMs like that, be like, you think you're better than us, and I'm like, no one says I think I'm better than anyone, but I'm trying to be who I've really wanted to be, because I have really focused on who I've always wanted to be, and just being open, because sometimes I used to be like very insecure on things I'm posting or anything like that. But when I got the confidence and I built the confidence, it enabled me to post anything, no matter how it might be, and no matter how my interest might be. Because I mean, like, I'm doing different things, maybe my friends are doing, like, maybe it seems very uncool to them, but I feel that's where I get my happiness from. This is where I get more motivated and everything else. So my daily affirmation is that I'm a queen of my own world, and no matter wherever you are and you have chosen a path that you want to be, you will be there no matter the reason. It's just to work on yourself, work on who you are and anything. And we are our own writers of our books. So yes.
No, I honestly believe you. I believe in God so much, and I feel like confidence has always been a struggle in my world. I have been the quiet, kind of shy kid who, even though who might have had the biggest personality, I always kept things to myself because I was afraid of being judged, and I still am. As older as I was, maybe 6 years ago, I still have the fear that my peers don't like me, that I'm not liked enough, or that I don't look pretty enough. And it's just something that we as girls all face. No matter who is who, no matter who you are, you have, we
Yes.
are all comparing each other to everything, everyone, and we need to stop because comparing is
Yes.
not, and this is so out of,
Comparing.
it's not good at all. Before we end the interview, I always like to end it with a little bit of humor, if you've seen in my past interviews, but I want to know, what is your favorite noodle?
Pardon?
What is your favorite noodle?
Okay, what's that?
Noodles?
Oh, okay, okay. I really don't have. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Okay, my favorite noodles, and I know they're just back there in the kitchen. It's called Indomie. Like,
Yes, yes, Indomie. I love Indomie. Oh. I don't care what anybody says. Indomie's
let me tell you, I can eat it in the morning, in the lunchtime,
mm,
afternoon, at night. Just that can be my only meal. If I'm told to survive, that's the one.
Indomie, and especially it tastes good if you put fried egg on top. That on is a little extra extra. It's
And the
amazing.
extra spice, yes.
But last thing, do you have any last words for our audience out there who are watching? And if so, what would that
My message to the audience is, let me tell you, you need to believe in yourself. You need to be confident in who you are, and anything is possible no matter who you want to be. If you want to be the president of America, if you want to be the governor, if you want to be any dream that you have, you can be who you want to be. And when you're talking in terms of mental health, prioritize on your mental health. Nowadays, people are so negative, and we need, like, people are very, very negative, and you need
right?
to block that noise and just focus on who you are, focus on yourself, focus on your dreams and what you want. You want in life, because let me tell you, this world, everything is very negative. People around you are negative. No one wants the best for you. And you will know when people want the best for you is when you work on yourself and love yourself and everything. And as well, for those who really want to join the climate and mental health movement or even learn more, they can also contact me. I'm always answering my DMs, because I just believe sometimes I get the sweetest comments, and you're talking about, mental health and everything in these terms and everything. And also try my best, in psychology terms that I'm trying to add knowledge to help as possible as I can. And if you want to join any movement for climate and mental health, join any organizations nearby you, or even start chapters in your country or in the cities that you, wherever you are, and just believe in yourself, love yourself, and you're a queen and a king. Yes.
Amen. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, Tara, for being here. It was such a good time hearing your words and your wisdom. And I just hope you continue this journey and never give up and keep making a change for Kenya, for the world, and just for being a queen. Thank you so much. You are amazing. Thank
Thank
you so
you, and you are amazing. You're doing wonderful, and this is such an amazing opportunity that you're getting to podcast so many young people. I've been watching them and just learning a lot of what amazing young people are doing, and you are an amazing person, showcasing the voices of so many young people and their voices. And continue doing whatever what you're doing, because you are doing amazing. You are a queen. You are a queen.